For nearly 3 decades, Scream has occupied a strange, fragile space in horror. It's not just a slasher franchise, it's a conversation about slashers, a series that mocks the genre while still respecting its power. That balance is exactly why every new installment arrives with the same question hanging over it. Will this one actually be scary or just clever? With Scream 7, that question feels heavier than ever. The franchise has reached a turning point. Familiar faces are gone, creative risks are unavoidable. Nostalgia can no longer do the heavy lifting. So the real question isn't whether Scream 7 can exist, it's whether it can matter, and whether it can still make audiences afraid. Why the stakes for Scream 7 are higher than ever. The original Scream worked because it arrived at the perfect moment. Horror had grown predictable, and the film weaponized that predictability. It laughed at slasher rules while enforcing them with brutal precision. Later sequels succeeded when they evolved that idea, and struggled when they leaned too hard on self-reference. Now, Scream 7 faces a different problem. The meta angle itself is no longer fresh. Audiences today are hyper-aware of tropes. Horror commentary is everywhere. The genre has become self-reflective by default. That means Scream 7 can't rely solely on clever dialogue or genre jokes. If it wants to be strong, it must do something more dangerous. It has to hurt. Fear has changed, and Scream must change with it. The scariest horror films today don't just shock, they unsettle. Modern audiences aren't terrified by masks alone. They're disturbed by instability, loss of control, identity erosion, and violence that feels personal, rather than theatrical. Early Scream films relied on a specific fear, that anyone could be the killer, and that the rules you trusted could turn against you. Scream 7 must translate that idea into a modern emotional context. That means less irony, less distance, more intimacy. Ghostface can't feel like a character anymore. He has to feel like a presence, something invasive, unpredictable, and deeply personal. Why losing familiar faces might actually help. One of the franchise's greatest strengths has also become its biggest limitation: legacy characters. Nostalgia is comforting, but comfort is the enemy of fear. When audiences know certain characters are protected, either by legacy or popularity, tension evaporates. Suspense relies on uncertainty. If viewers believe no one is truly safe, fear returns. Scream 7 has an opportunity here. Without leaning heavily on the past, the film can reintroduce genuine risk. Anyone can die. Any relationship can be exploited. Any emotional anchor can be weaponized. That uncertainty is where strong horror lives. The killer matters more than ever. In every Scream film, the reveal is crucial, but it's not enough on its own. What makes a Ghostface killer memorable isn't just who they are, but why they kill. The best villains in the franchise reflected something broken about the world around them: obsession with fame, revenge culture, media exploitation, or identity crises. Scream 7 must tap into a fear that feels uniquely modern. That could be parasocial obsession, online radicalization, identity fragmentation, or the commodification of trauma. The killer's motive must feel disturbingly plausible, something that makes audiences uncomfortable not because it's exaggerated, but because it's familiar. That's how horror lingers. Less comedy, sharper humor. Scream has always balanced humor and terror, but in recent installments, the comedy sometimes softened the impact of violence. A strong Scream 7 doesn't eliminate humor, it sharpens it. The jokes should cut. They should reveal character flaws, tensions, and emotional cracks. Humor should make scenes more uncomfortable, not safer. Think nervous laughter, awkward silence, jokes that land too close to the truth. That kind of humor doesn't break tension. It tightens it. Violence must feel consequential again. One criticism often aimed at modern slashers is that death has become too clean, too quick, too forgettable. Early Scream films made violence feel disruptive. Characters reacted, communities fractured, survivors carried trauma forward. If Scream 7 wants to be scary, it must restore consequence. Deaths should ripple outward. They should alter behavior, relationships, and decisions. Characters should feel fear not just during attacks, but after them. Fear shouldn't end when the knife is pulled away. Atmosphere over body count. More kills do not equal more fear. In fact, excessive body counts can numb audiences. A stronger Scream 7 would focus on atmosphere, slow dread, isolation, and emotional vulnerability. Quiet scenes should matter as much as chase sequences. Suspense thrives in stillness. The best scares aren't loud, they're patient. A door that doesn't open, a phone that doesn't ring, a silence that lasts too long. Those moments stay with people longer than jump scares ever will. The setting needs to feel claustrophobic again. One of the original Scream's strengths was how familiar its setting felt. Suburban homes, schools, quiet streets. The danger came from how ordinary everything was. Modern sequels expanded the world, but sometimes lost that intimacy. Scream 7 should shrink the world again. Fewer locations, more confinement, less escape. When characters can't run far, emotionally or physically, fear intensifies. The audience must feel trapped alongside them. Emotional investment is non-negotiable. A scary movie fails if viewers don't care who survives. Scream 7 must spend time making characters feel real, flawed, complicated, sometimes unlikable, but human. Relationships should be messy. Trust should be fragile. Fear works best when it threatens something meaningful. If the audience feels nothing when someone dies, the film has already lost. The franchise's biggest opportunity. The greatest strength of Scream 7 is also its greatest risk: expectation. Audiences know the rules. They expect twists. They anticipate betrayals. The smartest move would be to break expectations quietly, not through shock value, but through emotional honesty. What if the scariest moment isn't a reveal? What if it's a realization? What if survival itself feels ambiguous? Horror doesn't need to be louder. It needs to be closer. So, will Scream 7 be strong and scary? It can be, but only if it lets go of safety. If it leans too hard on nostalgia, it will feel hollow. If it prioritizes cleverness over fear, it will feel distant. If it protects characters instead of challenging them, it will feel predictable. But if Scream 7 commits to intimacy, consequence, and emotional discomfort, it has the potential to be one of the franchise's most unsettling chapters. Not because it reinvents horror, but because it remembers why horror works. The Scream franchise has always been a mirror, reflecting what audiences fear, mock, and secretly crave. Scream 7 arrives at a moment when horror is no longer about monsters in the dark, but threats woven into daily life. Identity, obsession, exposure, betrayal. If the film understands that, and has the courage to act on it, it won't just be strong, it will be terrifying. And if it fails, then the real horror won't be Ghostface. It will be realizing that even the smartest horror franchises can forget how fear actually works. Scream 7 doesn't need louder screams, it needs quieter dread. Fear should seep in slowly, not announce itself with a wink. The mask should feel less like a costume and more like a violation. Every phone call should feel intrusive, not nostalgic. Every choice should carry weight, not protection. The audience shouldn't be ahead of the film. They should feel hunted by it. Safety kills suspense, and comfort kills horror. The moment viewers feel this character will survive, the spell breaks. True fear begins when survival feels undeserved. Scream works best when it stops explaining itself, when it trusts silence more than dialogue, when violence feels ugly, not entertaining, when trauma lingers instead of resetting. If Scream 7 dares to make audiences uneasy rather than amused, it won't just scare them, it will stay with them.